Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the world you live in was not designed to be fair. Not by nature, not by society, and certainly not by any divine architect. You look around and you see billionaires who can buy their own countries and people who cannot afford a meal. And a question hits you like a punch. Who is responsible for this? Is it God? Is it fate? Is it a cosmic system programmed to keep some people high and others low? Or is it us? This question is not new. For centuries, people have argued about wealth, poverty, fairness, and whether some invisible force decides who gets what. Some say inequality is God's test, some say it is destiny, some say it is karma. But when you put all these ideas under the microscope of history, logic, evidence, and human behavior, the entire picture changes. We are going to break this down in the simplest way possible. No complicated theories, no intimidating terminology, just clear reality. Because if you strip away all myths and beliefs, you end up looking at one undeniable truth. Wealth is not distributed by heaven. It is structured, created, controlled, and multiplied by human beings. And once you understand how that happens, the world starts making a lot more sense. This is not about attacking religion, but about understanding the mechanics of human society. It is about asking honest questions that too many people avoid. So sit tight, because what you are about to hear might change the way you see your country, your economy, your work, and even yourself. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that every bank account on Earth was suddenly reset to the same number. Every billionaire loses everything. Every poor family becomes financially secure. Every business, every country, every charity, all equal down to the last dollar. For a moment, the world stands still. People stare at their phones, their statements, their empty wallets, and overflowing balances. Confusion becomes shock. Shock becomes chaos. And then the most important question rises in every mind. Would the world stay equal, or would inequality return instantly? This is not a question about God, religion, or faith. It is a question about human nature, systems, structures, and how we, not the universe, have shaped the world we live in. Because if every person started from the same financial line, would the race end equally? Or would the same patterns repeat? The honest answer is uncomfortable, but also liberating. Inequality is not written into the universe. It is built by us, brick by brick, choice by choice, system by system. Some people blame God, thinking, if there is a creator, why are some born in luxury while others fight for survival? This question appears spiritual, but the explanation is painfully human. Inequality is not an act of divine will. It is the result of history, power, opportunity, and the decisions of millions over thousands of years. The economist Thomas Piketty once warned that when return on capital outpaces economic growth, inequality widens automatically. In simple words, the rich grow richer faster than the poor can catch up. Not because of God, but because of math. A person with $1 million invested at a modest return earns more every year by doing nothing than a poor laborer earns by giving his entire body and time. This is not destiny. This is a structure. The philanthropist Warren Buffett, one of the richest people alive, openly admitted, "I was born into the right womb." He did not say God blessed him. He said luck, birthplace, family, and economic environment shaped his path long before he made his first choice. He even joked that if he were born in a poor village, his talent for capital allocation would be useless. That single statement explains more about inequality than any religious text. If we study history, we discover that wealth inequality began long before modern economics. It began when the first humans settled into farming communities. In nomadic societies, people moved together, shared resources, and survived as a group. But once agriculture began, land became ownership. Ownership became inheritance, inheritance became class, and class became an unbreakable chain. The moment humans controlled land, food, tools, animals, and labor, inequality took root. No divine hand divided the earth. Humans fenced it. The philosopher Bertrand Russell, a known critic of religious interpretations of inequality, once wrote that inequality is not heavenly design, but earthly arrangement. One person decides to own land, another is forced to work on it. One creates a rule, another lives under it. One group writes history, the other disappears from it. If God truly wanted perfect equality, why would humans be allowed to change it? Why would people be free to exploit, to manipulate, to accumulate, to hoard? The uncomfortable truth is that questioning God about inequality is like blaming gravity for a poorly built bridge. The problem is not the fundamental force, it is the design. Take the example of technological inequality. Some countries had the Industrial Revolution first, not because of divine favoritism, but because of geography, resources, political stability, access to coal, and human-driven innovation. The economist Jared Diamond argued that civilizations diverged because of environmental advantages, not inherent superiority. Again, not God, but geography and human decisions. Let us look at real life. Two babies are born at the same moment, one in a wealthy neighborhood, one in a slum. Before they say their first word, their paths are dramatically different. The wealthy child gets nutrition, education, stability, networks, opportunities, and time. The poor child might face hunger, disease, stress, unsafe surroundings, and limited schooling. By the time they are teenagers, one has a resume, the other has responsibilities. Is this divine inequality or structural inequality created by generations of humans before them? Even the billionaire philanthropist Bill Gates said, "Capitalism itself does not naturally reduce inequality." He was not criticizing God. He was pointing out that human-created systems reward certain behaviors and punish others. Capitalism rewards innovation, but also rewards ownership. And when ownership concentrates, opportunity shrinks. But let us push the question further. If inequality is human-made, why do humans not remove it? Part of the answer lies in incentives. People protect their advantages, consciously or unconsciously. A rich family passes down wealth, networks, and education. A poor family passes down struggle, resilience, and survival strategies. Both are doing what they must, but the gap grows. Sometimes the system encourages inequality without anyone intending to harm anyone. Sometimes it encourages inequality because a few benefit enormously from it. Look at companies that underpay workers but generate massive profits. Look at nations where corruption funnels wealth upward. Look at tax systems where loopholes exist for the wealthy but not for the poor. None of this is divine. It is political, it is legal, it is structural. The economist Milton Friedman, often criticized but intellectually sharp, once said, "A society that puts equality ahead of freedom will end up with neither. But a society that puts unchecked freedom ahead of fairness ends up with massive inequality." And that is exactly what many nations face today. The truth becomes clear when we examine countries that actively chose to reduce inequality. Scandinavian countries did not wait for God or fate. They changed tax structures. They built strong welfare systems. They guaranteed healthcare and education. They invested in people. As a result, inequality shrank dramatically. This shows that inequality is moldable. It is not cosmic law. It is human policy. If God were the designer of inequality, no policy could change it. Let us explore another angle: talent. Some argue that people are unequal because talent is unequal. But talent alone does not produce wealth. A brilliant child born in poverty may never unlock their potential because they lack the environment. Meanwhile, a mediocre child from wealth may fail repeatedly and still succeed because they have safety nets. Is the universe responsible for this, or human society? Even Carnegie admitted that inequality is a side effect of human progress, something humans must correct. He believed the wealthy have a duty to give back, not because they are chosen by God, but because society allowed them to become rich in the first place. Now think of everyday life. When you see a homeless person on the street, do you think a divine plan placed them there? Or do you recognize the web of causes such as job loss, mental health struggles, lack of support, medical debt, and systemic failure? When a small business collapses, was it divine teaching or inflation, rent costs, competition, and market forces? When a billionaire increases their wealth by billions during a crisis while millions lose their jobs, is that cosmic justice or human-created economic dynamics? The deeper you examine inequality, the more obvious it becomes that humans shape the financial map of the world. We create the roads, we set the rules, we draw the borders, we choose who gets access and who does not. Blaming God is simpler, but also misleading. Because if we blame God for inequality, we also remove human responsibility to fix it. We are not powerless spectators, we are architects. We can redesign education so that a child's future is not determined by their zip code. We can redesign healthcare so that illness does not lead to poverty. We can redesign taxation so that opportunity is more evenly distributed. We can redesign workplaces so that labor is respected, not exploited. We can redesign global systems so that wealth does not accumulate into the hands of the few like a gravitational black hole. Inequality is not a divine puzzle. It is a human project, and therefore a human responsibility. So when we ask, who is behind the unequal distribution of wealth, God or man? The answer becomes clear. We are. Not because we are evil, but because we are inconsistent. Not because we are cursed, but because we are human. And if humans built inequality, humans can dismantle it. The question is not, why did God make the world unfair? Andrew Carnegie once admitted, the man who dies rich dies disgraced, showing that even the wealthiest understood the imbalance. This inequality does not fall from the clouds. It comes from policy, opportunity, education, inherited power, industrial revolutions, technological gaps, and sometimes pure luck. If humans created this imbalance, humans can fix it too. But that requires honesty. It requires courage. And it requires understanding that waiting for the heavens to fix the world is the fastest way to watch it fall apart even more. So the next time someone tells you wealth is God's will or destiny, remember this. Wealth follows structure, not scripture. It follows access, not angels. It follows human choices, not cosmic commands. If we want a fairer world, we do not need to pray for it. We need to build it, piece by piece, policy by policy, mindset by mindset. And that begins with understanding the truth. Inequality is not a divine mystery. It is a human-made reality, and only human hands can reshape it.